All right, what is up, y'all? So I'm excited to bring this little interview to you. This is the second part of an interview that I had with Alex Fitzgerald, which is a member of our community. He's been with us a couple of years. And the first part, we really just got to know Alex as a person, which I thought was an amazing discussion with a lot of really good learning points. So make sure you check that part out. But this one, we talk about all things health. And if I had to summarize things, in this chat, we kind of come to this conclusion about like, how do you figure out what a good health program is? You basically want something that kind of makes sense. You want something that you can believe in. You want something that when you put it into practice, you get results. And you want something that you can sustain for a very long time, ideally a lifetime. Okay, so we talk about a lot of great topics here, the power of routines and how you don't have to have a lot of variety, especially starting out with a nutrition program. As long as it accomplishes what it is that you want to accomplish, it's totally fine to have the same thing most days. And talk a little bit about fitness and how fitness is synergistic with real food nutrition, and fitness kind of helps you shape your body, whereas real food nutrition helps you lose the body fat. We talk about how to use tomorrow for today. So, maybe thinking about how you want to look and feel and perform tomorrow as leverage to make a good decision in the moment. And then you can get momentum from that if you keep doing it over and over and over. Also, we talk about how eating something always displaces your ability to eat something else. And so you want to pick and choose what it is that you're eating wisely, because you can only eat so much food in a day. And I think we kind of end our discussion with, within the context of a program that you like and that you get results from, you don't ever want to be complacent. You always want to experiment with all kinds of different things so that you're keeping things fresh and so that you're constantly learning about yourself, all right? So enjoy this talk with me and Alex.
Cool. Well, do you mind if we transition into like what's a day look like for you? Like, you came and found us because your back was hurt. Went through some pretty significant changes. I know that you've been through just our basic stuff. You went through the animal-based progression, and so what's a day look like for you now?
I've done animal-based. So I've done a few progressions. I've tried them all out. I mean, the fasting, and I like the results of them all. But sometimes it's a crazy life we all lead, and I travel a lot for work. So the interesting thing for me, the most consistent days, I guess, are weekend days, right? So now, as much as I have resisted it in my life, having a schedule and waking up earlier, not as early, I don't think, as you, but I'm like, if I get up at 5:36, I'm like, yes, I'm doing good, and I can do that consistently, then I can, have that part of my schedule be consistent, and I can build plans upon that. I can set up my day upon that, and even when I'm traveling,
Dude, such gold right there. Like the whole consistency thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even tell you how many conversations I've had with clients in the past couple of weeks about this. Like it's like we go through these phases, and this is one of the big ones right now. Is this whole seeing what your day looks like, if what's your ideal rise time to facilitate like getting the things that you need done, being consistent with it most days, even when you're traveling, because like you just said, like it opens up. That consistency opens up the possibility for you to get more done, more things that contribute to things that you want, or something like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, you get up at the same time. That's harder than it should have been for me, but now,
Not too big a deal.
Seeing the benefits, so it's pretty easy.
It is possible, no matter,
It's 100% possible, and it's so funny because now it's like, I don't know, I'd be easily convinced to go hang out with friends and stay up late and stuff, and now it's like pretty hard to convince me. It's like I'm gonna kill tomorrow, or I'm gonna come hang out.
That's right, man.
So
I just feel like that's the progression for most of us, if we stick with this long enough. But go ahead.
So typical day. Coffee in the morning with some. I have the pour over. I forget what that's called. The Chemex, I think, makes it. I love good quality coffee. That's like such a good start to the day. Good quality coffee. You got some Strauss, heavy cream, and it's just like, I'm good until 11 or 12. I usually don't eat till then. Sometimes I won't go until dinner if it's a crazy day, but most of the time it's like lunchtime. I start getting hungry, have some bacon and eggs. Very simple. I love it. I love the simple. I don't have to. It's like Steve Jobs wore the same pair of pants and same shirt every day, right? I never have to worry about what I'm gonna eat, right? Like I know I'm gonna have. If it's the same thing, it's so much simplifies my day, and I'm just like, yes, I got my nutrients. It doesn't like mentally, take anything away from my day. I can move on. I'm still going, at full steam.
Yeah.
And
you don't have to have the variety. I mean, it's great if it's possible, and if some people feel like they need it, maybe they don't. I say it all the time. It's like, if it's serving a purpose, it can be the same freaking thing most days.
Yeah.
As long as it's making you feel good.
Yeah, exactly. I think. Yeah,
and I like the simplicity of that. So.
Oh, it's yeah. Because then it's So now I don't have to worry about breakfast. That's one decision that would fatigue me, previously. Now I don't have to worry about lunch. I do have to make it, but there's no decision in that. It's just going through that routine. So that's another decision that would have fatigued me, right? Dinner, yeah, that's probably where I'll get my variety in, right? Like we'll come home after work and eat a lot of different things and try and plan for something newer when we can. So I'll get it then. But yeah, I mean it's like it's sweet, and so when and those are my ideal days when I'm working from home or weekends and all that stuff, right? I'll get those like easy wins, and the harder ones are when I travel, and those ones are interesting because you have to put some effort into it, right? Now I just know I keep some powdered heavy cream. So the hotel I'm at, you get the coffee, you add the cream. I bring some collagen, right? So I have a couple bags. I got my 3 bags. I got collagen, magnesium, and heavy cream powdered, right? And so I'll have the ability to kind of do the same thing at the hotel. Now, a lot of these client sites I'll visit, like the cement plant or whatever, they're remote. They're like, there's no. If I could bring lunch, that'd be tough, right? Like I don't know it'd be tough to bring something that I could get ready at the hotel. So what I usually do is I kind of just leave it up in the air. I'll bring like a little quart or whatever it is, pint of bone stock, right? Bone broth, and then a couple of those Epic meat bars, right? So then if we finish early, good. I'm gone. I'll figure something out to eat, right? If we go along and they want to eat and they bring food, sometimes they bring food in and then you just kind of have to eat the sandwich and you're like, thank you. I'm going to eat this bread.
You don't pick it apart?
I mean, I do, but if they're like, if they're very expectant, and there's this relationship thing. So if I have to wear, I wear certain clothes at a certain client, like I want them to know that I think like them. So there's a lot of, if I'm like, I'm not eating bread right now, it's tough. But, and then, if they have their lunch and they're like, okay, we'll break for 30 minutes, we'll come back. I'm like, great, I got my bone broth, I got my meat bars, and I'm good until the end of the day. I'm probably like I'm if you've done the fasting, so even if I didn't eat, even if I just had some bone broth, which I do from time to time, I'm just like sharp. Like I'm just I'm probably not the funniest guy to be around, but I'm like mentally on it. And when the point is with these clients to like understand how their systems work and how their stuff's gonna break, like it's perfect for what I do.
Yeah, it's great that you have that flexibility though. You're prepped, but at the same time, if for whatever reason, like you can't, do your thing, like it's like the space is not going to kill you. That's one of the great things about getting to that point of whatever you want to call it, fat adapted metabolic flexibility. It's like you're not ruled by the meals and the timing and the amounts and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Super liberating.
It freaks people out. Sometimes, like Katie at first before she started doing this, she's like, how are you not hungry? How do you? And I'm just,
because you do see people that do that the wrong way or in the other realm, and they're fighting through, or you know what I mean? Like it's an unhealthier version of it.
And it's not like, so when I do eat, I mean, you've said it before. Like
You-
I eat, like I eat, and I eat good.
Yeah,
Like so.
gloriously.
Yeah. So you know, it's not like I'm not getting my nutrients. It's just it's very much me being in control and not the food. So.
Yeah. So what about like workouts and stuff like that? You part of a gym, or
Yeah.
every time I see you, you look more and more jacked.
I'm part of a gym. I've been getting all upper lately because I've been trying to lay off my back. It still bugs me from time to time, but yeah. So I'm part of a gym. I'm EOS.
Okay.
I got in like on a family member rate. It's like $5 a month
Oh, wow.
for like years and years. So and it's a half mile away from me. So it's so hard for me to justify anything. Plus, you know, I feel like with what I'm doing now, it's sustainable, and it gives me progress. I feel good. It's able to be built into my schedule. It checks all the boxes. So.
And they have group classes you participate in, or
I
is it
don't
like
do
you go in
any
there and you just use use the gym space? All right, so this is the first time this has ever happened. The camera shut off because the battery ran out. So, and I don't think that means it was too long. I mean, I film all the time. I think that was maybe like 45 minutes or an hour, but I think we were at the part where we were talking about your day, right? You'd gone through, you know, what you have for breakfast or your first meal, and how beneficial it is that you can not eat. You know, that's always an option, and how freeing and liberating that is. Now people think you're crazy, right? Sometimes, and
Yep.
and but how that's adaptable to business situations. So if you have to go to a lunch or something, like you can eat, you don't have to. You can be cordial, you know, something like that.
Yep.
And then we got into the fitness. So I think that's where we were at. I had asked you, like you said, what do you do for workouts? So you said EOS, and you said, you know, you go there and you just do some lifting weights. Was there anything else that we wanted to touch on with that?
No, I mean I go to, I don't do classes, and so you know, maybe there's a couple good things that come out of that. You know, I do lift weights.
Of not doing classes?
No. Classes can be very useful.
Okay.
I just like my podcasts when I.
Oh yeah, you like to be able to listen to your own thing.
There's some magic in doing something physical and like kind of learning at the same time. There's some synergy there. I think it's good. But you know, I swim and I lift some weights, do some cardio, so I try and switch it up. But I think, and we could touch on this later, but I think that one thing I was thinking about with regard to that was, you know, it's there. You have to do it. You have to, you know, the exercise. Obviously, that's core to being better. But I think people think it's like you eat 20%. You know, 20% of being like optimal is eating right, and then the rest of it's working out. And I think it's almost like. I think it's skewed in the other direction.
Absolutely.
It's like 60, 70, 80% what you eat.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like, and I think it's, I wish people believe that, because I told, I don't know, I've told people that before, and they're like, nah, that's not.
Yeah, but you know from experience now. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, and I don't know what we thought before all this, but that's the numbers we use. We use 80% food, 10% fitness, 5% sleep, 5%, you know, I don't know. I mean, it's maybe not doing some of those categories justice, but it's definitely like weighted on the food piece of it.
Yeah.
Whereas most people, it's like the more I can work out, the better. Like I just, you know, it's like the more time I can put in, the more I'm burning calories, or I don't know what they think is happening. But now I was thinking about this because me and a buddy of mine did an interview yesterday, and it was really awesome. And it was revolving around working out, and because I got this question in that latest group that we just did at the mortgage company, and it was like, you know, what do you think is the best way to work out? So we got into this discussion about, well, what's the point of working out, you know? So, but then I was thinking about like percentage-wise, it's like the reason that we have musculature, right, is because of that. So it's hard to say what the weight is, because it's like that does take work, and that is effort. You know, and that shapes the body, right? So me and my buddy were saying the working out tells your body how to prioritize where to put things in some ways, right? So if I do strength training and certain things, like the body's going to take the nutrition, and part of that's going to be used to repair and build and stuff like that. So there is a component to it, but it's not what people think. You know, it is definitely weighted in the food, and if I had to maybe more accurately, I'd say maybe 60% food, body composition. 60% food, 15-20% working out. Or I don't know.
Yeah.
That's tough.
That's true, and that's so it's not a simple like
Just
equation,
percentages.
But,
Yeah.
But and maybe it's better said as like a layer thing. But yeah, I guess you wouldn't ever unlock the ability to get body composition if you don't have the nutrition. So it's like, I don't know. It's almost like if you look at like from a video game, right? You're not going to get to the boss. You're not going to get to the boss to get the opportunity to beat the game if you don't start with the nutrition. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, so you know how you can choose those characters, and some characters are like really slow but super powerful, and then you got the ones that are super fast like no, they die really easy. What you want is that character that's like mainly real food, trains with intensity for a very short period of time for a few days a week.
Yeah.
Sleep, prioritizes sleep. No matter what. That's an interesting way to look at it.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
That's a fun one. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like there's something else I wanted to say there, but yeah. So anyway, but the bottom line is you could eat 100% real food the way that we recommend, and work out 2 or 3 days a week, and look and feel amazing, and have musculature and curves and whatever the heck it is you want.
Yep.
Because the food is the biggest piece of it.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Agree.
And losing body fat, like even if you don't work out, like just eating real food is going to do a tremendous amount of stuff. But the working out is going to shape your body. It's going to give you capacity. It's going to give you preparedness. It's going to give you capabilities, theoretically.
Yeah.
Something like
absolutely. I love that word, capacity. The capacity to do work. Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Love that. I love that idea because we don't think of it like that. Because that ties into something I talk about later, which is like being useful, right? You want to be able to have capacity to do what it is you want to do, right?
Yeah.
So
now, when you say talk about later, are you talking third person, like later, as in the previous thing that we did that we had to put on, or are you talking about later in this?
Later in this. What I want later in this, because I think there's a couple of like summary points that I think are would be good to.
Okay. Cool.
Touch on.
All right. So that's the working out piece. So we were going through a day. Anything else that we want to say about a day in the life of Alex?
I guess.
What time do you go to bed?
So the first time Katie came, it was like 8:30, and she was like, I think I'm gonna go to bed, and I was like, it's 8:30.
Yeah. Now this is a long time ago, right?
This was a couple years ago. Yeah,
Okay,
a few years ago. So
Okay.
I was never like a early to bed, early to rise type person, but now I started doing it, and I didn't like it at first, but once you get used to going to bed early and then waking up early, and you wake up with this energy, right? It seems to really help. And I don't think I'm not waking up I'm waking up close to the crack of dawn.
Was it hard for you to get in here today at 7?
I'm
gonna grab some of my coffee real quick. I mean, I'm just joking, but I don't know. Was it hard?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Because I was thinking about going in for like a workout, but then I was like, I think I should. I was working out the last couple days. I'll take a break. But I don't like getting up at 5. 5:30 is cool. I think that's my.
30 minutes makes a world of difference, or it can.
It does.
Yep. Yeah. So basically, what you're saying is you can make yourself, and we say this all the time. You can what do we call it? Well, you can habituate yourself to a certain schedule, even though initially it doesn't feel normal. But you can train yourself. That's what you can train your body to have a certain rise in bedtime, or expect a certain rise in bedtime. That's very different from where you're at right now. A lot of people feel like, well, I know I need to, get to bed at this time, or I need to go to bed earlier, and I know, but it's just so hard. Well, it is in the beginning, but you can change it if you want to with consistency, and then your body just gets used to that, especially if you're doing all the other things like eating real food and getting some sun and stuff like that, right? Would you agree?
Okay. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a big
I see your
part.
brain working sometimes. I'm like, uh-oh.
No, I'm just trying to think if there's any other like super useful takeaway from changing the sleep schedule that you haven't already said. So I mean,
Well, you just said too, like your energy is better, like you feel like now you wake up and you're almost addicted to it, so it makes you want to do it again. So it's like better sleep begets better sleep.
Yep.
and better sleep habits. You know, you wake up and you feel great. You're like, dang, I want to do that again. I want to feel good again tomorrow. So, you know, something like that.
Yeah, and I guess, so that's a good point, because it ties into something else. I used to, so I work and travel a lot, right, and I have to travel for work. So if I'm going to have a client visit and I'll travel the day before, it used to be that, you know, everything in the interest of getting stuff done. So, like if I had to leave at 6 or 7 at night and get to my hotel at like 10 or whatever, or 11, and just, you know, have a short night, like,
that's just the way it worked.
I did that, yes, it was the way it worked, and I sacrificed at the expense of the next day. But I realized that if I, you know, set boundaries, and when if I have to travel, I have to travel within the normal, you know, like boundaries of my day. Then I can then it goes back to being able to go to sleep on time and wake up early, and then come in with like come into these client site visits like almost with an athlete's mentality. Like I come in, you know, I wake up, go to the gym, and I'm ready for the client. You know, I'm ready for the visit. And
you want to be well rested.
Yeah, like I have to be able to think very quickly and adapt and respond to this stuff. So it's so it's interesting to realize the benefits, and it's not I don't know, it's not always easy, because it's not easy to be like, what, you know, to really look at what I do today and how it's going to be, how I'm investing in today to give me a better tomorrow.
Well, no, that's a really good point. Hey, do you mind just maybe scooting to your left just a little bit? I want to make sure that you're in the camera, because I feel like sometimes,
Sure.
There you go. And no, so what so what I hear you saying is, well, first of all, I feel like with a lot of us, this is fascinating. I never thought about this. We naturally gravitate towards, initially it's like do everything that you can to get the job done, right? Stay up late, pull an all-nighter, you know, school, you know, you got to study, and just, right, you sacrifice sleep and everything else just to get things done, right?
Yeah.
Then we get into this realm, and the feeling better begets feeling better. It's like we naturally start to understand that, like, the schedule needs to stay the same for me to function at my best.
Yeah.
You know, it's like without much of I don't think we ever have much of a discussion around that. It's just like we naturally realize, hey, I'm going to feel better tomorrow if I do what I'm supposed to do today.
Yeah.
You know, so something like using tomorrow for today. You know, it's like,
absolutely,
if I want to perform well tomorrow, like, I'm not going to freaking pull an all-nighter tonight. I can get it done. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. You're doing yourself a disservice if you you know, if you really like take yourself out of that optimal realm of waking and performing. So
I mean, you show up freaking just bloodshot eyes, and it's like getting drunk the night before a big event or something like that. You know, it's like, you know, why are you gonna do that to yourself?
Yeah. I mean, I've been there. So
yeah. Cool.
Unintentionally.
Yeah. So that's the sleep piece. Do you have an evening routine or anything like that?
I guess it's an interesting, I hadn't thought about this, but like, you know, like good quality coffee in the morning. I do like a drink at night. I like my bourbon. Just one, honestly, is plenty. But yeah, wind down and kind of, you know, some of the things that do make a difference are like not having a screen in front of you for the last, you know, good hour or two before bed. Massive help, which I love doing, but I've never been good at doing right before bed, is reading. You know, reading for a bit before bed. Yeah. So that's a big help. 20, 30 minutes.
The nights that we do it, I love it.
Yeah.
You know, I absolutely love it, and that's one of my rationale for not having a drink, you know, or two or more than one or something like that, because then I don't feel like doing that. But the nights that I get into bed, I'm like, man, I just want to sit here and do my little bullet journal and reflect on the day and do a little reading. It's the best. It feels great. Facilitates sleep. So
love that. Yeah. I have to. That'll be the next level of my sophistication. The journaling. I do want to do that. I just haven't been able to.
Well, we could talk about it, because I'm like, I've never understood it. You know, like journaling. Okay, yeah, we all hear about like the benefits of journaling. You should journal. What does that mean? You know, it's like, and I think I got it figured out. So
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, and then let's see, anything else? What's a typical a meal in the evening for you guys? More animal-based now, plant-based?
Yeah, mostly animal-based.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I've done. I'm kind of a less extreme version, but we've done the Fabo months, the flexible animal-based.
Oh yeah, because you
omnivore.
did go through the course stuff on that.
Yeah, I love that. I mean,
Yeah.
I love that. I can do that, I think, full time, but it's tough, with integrating it into your significant other and all that stuff. So I think it's less. People. It's hard to deviate from what we're taught. Again, growing up, that you can live that way, like with meat and fat concentrate. Heavy.
The majority.
Nutrition, yeah.
The majority, yeah.
But
Yeah,
steak, sweet potatoes, Brussels sprouts. I think that was last night. Doing a carne asada quesadillas with some siete tortillas tonight.
Nice. That's a good idea. Oh, one on bottom, one on top?
Well, I just fold it over, but I do.
Fold it over. Yeah,
it's
that's
like,
a good idea.
It's a really it's a flank steak that you get that carne asada meat, and you just kind of spread the whole thing out, and it's pretty meat heavy, but it's delicious.
That's a great idea, man.
Yeah.
Remind me about that. We need to do a recipe on that.
Yeah.
Take some pictures tonight or something.
Will do.
On that, I feel like the animal-based thing, a lot of us have gravitated towards that. I feel like it's a combination of understanding how valuable animal foods are, how good healthy fats are for you. Most of us are trying to moderate our carb intake to some degree, and it's like when you eat anything, it displaces your ability to eat anything else. This is something I've been thinking about a lot lately. So if we're prioritizing the most nutrient-dense foods, which a lot of us, as we get to be more and more veteran with this, it's like that is what we do. Like we prioritize like the animal foods, and we prioritize those nutrient-dense foods. And then there's not a whole lot left. So like most of us do, like a lot of animal foods, a little bit of starch, a little bit of fruit, maybe some vegetables or greens here and there, but they're definitely not as big a part of it as it was in the beginning, where we were kind of forcing this balance of macros, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, some people still feel really good doing that, but a lot of us have kind of gravitated towards that. And I feel like because Arnica has this kind of a rare condition, we had to do a lot of elimination things, and through that elimination process, the safest things have always been the animal foods.
That's interesting.
And a lot of the plants mess with us, so just from trial and error.
Are there many left that don't mess with her?
Not really. Yeah. I mean, we can do it. Like she'll do greens most weeks. That's really convenient for her to take to work.
Sure.
And again, not that there's anything wrong with it. We don't do many vegetables because she doesn't tolerate them very well. But we usually do like an animal food and a starch. We do a lot of dairy. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the same for me. Another point you made at some point in the past was when you eat that, right? I feel like you're much better at knowing when you're full and regulating. So like when there's not room for much else, there's not room. You've hit your.
You're done.
You've hit it. Like you're good, and you're you can move on
and it's almost unconscious, right? You're just like you just lose your appetite, if you focus on those things.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. Like it's hard for people to believe or understand or comprehend in the beginning. Is that hey, you can pretty much eat as much of this stuff as you want. As long as you're moderating like the sugars and starches and stuff, you can pretty much eat it because your body's going to shut it off.
Yep.
You just can't. It's impossible to overeat ground beef.
It's true.
It's
I mean, true.
Theoretically, maybe it's not. Theoretically, but the reality is it does not have. You can't overeat it.
Yeah. No, and I love that because I can count. Like I can count all day. I can track things. I can do spreadsheets and all that stuff. But that doesn't mean it's fun.
That's right. That's right.
And eating like this, it's you eat till you're full or you eat till you're satiated and you're.
I try to tell people all the time, man. I get people come in here. Well, how much? I mean, it is useful. I think sometimes to track your macros just to see where you're at as far as like your total protein intake and things like that. Especially if like you're an athlete trying to put on some muscle. But again, if you prioritize the nutrient-dense foods. It works itself out better than tracking macros, I think.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and I agree with that. And I'm not trying to be an athlete. I think there is definitely some benefit to optimizing, but for just like a simple lifestyle thing, like this is simple, easy to follow, and you just let your body be the
barometer,
hall monitor, rather than your track, the barometer,
yeah, cool. All right, so that is a day in the life for the most part. Anything else we want to cover on that? Do you meditate?
Yes, once
Cool.
in a while, not as often as I like. I did it. I probably got 1 or 2 days in a week, past few weeks. So it's always helpful when I do. That's for sure. And when I don't, I kind of. Usually, it's me looking back, being like, "Crap, I should have."
That's what I was just going to say. Sometimes these things, if we don't do them, it's not just that we don't notice the benefit. It's the lingering to-do list that didn't get done. Something like that.
Yeah.
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 Cool.
So yeah, I guess 10 minutes, 15 minutes in the morning, sitting out on my outside my front door with my little chair, looking at my little tree, is just super helpful. And when I'm traveling, it's harder to get that. So it's interesting because you do notice the benefit, especially, and there's synergies. But I'm home, I'm mindful, and that helps. So.
Yeah. The routine of the consistent routine facilitates those components of the routine, right? Versus like when you're out of your normal. I'm the same way. Like during the week, it's so easy. Monday through Friday, like it's just part of the deal. I just come in, work out, do my thing, go sit, go for my walk. But then weekends, if it's slightly different, then it's like, oh shoot, I forgot or almost forgot. And then traveling, it's almost always an almost forgot. Okay, I got to make some time for it,
Yep.
All right, cool. So then, I think if you don't mind, we could finish with just like your experience with the SHT. Is that cool?
Yeah.
So like you sought us out because you had this back issue you wanted to get better, and then what, you just found us online, or I can't remember.
Yeah. So I had been making improvements in like trying to eat well and trying to work out and all that stuff, and I think I get overzealous, and so I overdid it with working out, and I wasn't using proper form, and I screwed up, and I injured my back deadlifting, and when it happened, it was like you feel your spine go out of alignment almost for a minute, and it was like a wake up call because it really makes you think, okay, if I'm really if I'm really trying to do this for my health, then why aren't I making sure that I'm doing it optimally? And so,
Or why is this happening to me if I think I'm so healthy?
Why is this happening to me if I think exactly. That's probably even better.
Yeah.
So, and I really, I did. I screwed up. I herniated 2 discs and went through physical therapy and all that stuff. But before all that happened, or like in parallel at the beginning of all that, I was like, one, I need to heal my back, so I should take some weight off too. If the physical's a part of it, then the nutrition is definitely a part of it, and I have no idea. There's so much, there's so many recommended methodologies out there, and I don't know what's optimal for me. So, yeah, I was online. I went on Google and I was searching around, and I found this SuperHuman transformation. I was like, okay, well. That sounds interesting. It sounds very lofty.
I was gonna say it's overzealous. I'm like, we had to find something that fit the SHTs. So we're like, what would fit that? Because the SHT came before Superhuman transformation.
I didn't know that. Okay, that's interesting.
I always wanted a shirt we were able to say, I am the SHT. I am the shit.
Shit. Yeah, that's awesome.
And then we backtracked and said, what go? Yeah.
No, I love it. And at first I was like, all right, well this is lofty, but this could work. So I messaged you, and I think it was December 2019, and you told me that there was a master class coming, and so I was like, oh, that's perfect, right? So I jumped into it, and I think I went through some of your Google reviews and all that stuff, and so. But yeah, it was all online.
And well, you found it online, but then you attended live classes, right? Didn't
Yes.
you? Okay. Yeah. I think that was when we had our really big year. It was like 100 people in there, or something like that, maybe. Was it?
It seemed like quite a few. I don't know. Yeah.
Was I mic'd up?
You were mic'd up.
Yeah.
You had PowerPoints. You had virtual attendees at times and stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So then, what was your experience like? Like, what do you remember? Like, how did you receive the information? Well, I mean, you can be a critic if you want, but I'm just like, what was the experience like? Was it a decent flow of info, overwhelming, good? You know, like, what do you remember?
Yeah, I mean, it was a good flow of info. It was, you know, the thing that stood out to me was with other research I've done, like different ways of eating and stuff, they would have justifications and you know, like they would justify stuff, you know, and I'd be like, okay, that kind of makes sense. But it's interesting because you can then find another way of eating that would then try and justify their reasoning with completely opposite logic.
Justify the opposite.
And it's like, okay, well, that also makes sense. So which one is it, right? So I guess what I noticed with SHT and with that master class was that all the little unfilled cracks of like why you would do something just filled. Like it just clicked. Like it just made sense. You know, why do we eat this way? We eat for nutrient density. Like, you know, some of
What's
these
the
other
point
ones,
of it?
Yeah. Other ways of eating. It's like you eat a bunch of lettuce or fruits to make you feel full or something like that. You know, like, so basically trick your body, right? So there's all these things that didn't quite make sense, but maybe I didn't realize it until I went through the class. And so
Yeah, it's really hard to do critical thinking with a lot of the info that we see.
yeah,
You know, if we were actually able to sit down now, knowing what we know, it's almost like this gives you a template for assessing other things. You know, okay, it's like the scientific method almost. You know, but yeah. When you really think about it, like the arguments of some things, sometimes they say nutrients, but if it's really nutrients, then you would focus on different things. You know? If that's really your argument.
Yeah, exactly. So that's it.
And if it's really, whatever, body composition changes, energy, like it's like you would focus on the way that we try to, I think.
Yeah.
Nutrients and creating energy the right way. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you get I don't know, clarity, like that base level framework. You really do get that. And that's what I got. So it was like, this makes sense. Like for the first time. And that was what I really remember coming out of it.
Yeah. Well, and then experientially, you know, you put it into practice and you experience what it is we're talking about, you know.
Yeah, I started putting it into practice, and it's funny because then people, and that was what we were talking about earlier, because then people are like, holy crap, you know, like, what are you doing? And it's like, you know, you feel good, and people notice it, right? And then it goes back into, you know, how do you do that? And it's like, well, it's how I eat. And it's like, that's not it. But yeah, so the class was like 10 weeks. I think it was like every other week at the time. It was, so there was five sessions or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I loved it. Like the way you broke it down, you start off with this framework, right? The first one is like, hey, this is what we do. This is what we're after, right? And then follow-ups of like, here are some different sectors of that. How do we you know, how do we ensure nutrient density? Why do we avoid processed foods? Why do we avoid, you know, like fruits and vegetables with shells? You know, how can the way we farm, right, like, and the anti-nutrients and the pesticides and other stuff get into the foods that we're eating? How can those affect you? So, yeah, I can't. I mean, maybe I'm not the best critic. Because I thought it was so beneficial, but I can't think of much much in the way of critiquing, and so you know, little things here and there that you know, with your message, we've
you've given me some really good feedback, some dissertations. But what you're saying, I mean, this is the intention behind it, right? It's like it's always evolving, so we're not stagnant. I mean, you've seen us evolve just in the time you've been with us, right?
Yeah.
So we don't have a problem changing our stance or updating things, but it boils down to like, what is the easiest, simplest way to communicate this, and the easiest, simple way that we can put this into practice and get the results that we want, and still make this work in a modern, crazy lifestyle. You know, so it's like I think a perfect blend of like ancestral health combined with modern conveniences. You know,
Yep.
something like that.
And you mentioned the scientific method before. I'm a big fan of that and the first principles method. So when you use that, right? Like you go down to your base level assumptions, which is that you want to eat for optimal health and that you want to eat nutrient dense food and real food, and everything else follows. The other part of that, and this is very Elon Muskian, but like you say, when the information changes, you change, right? And so that's so important, right? Because it's like admitting we're not perfect and that we're on this journey together, right? And that there's always things that can be improved, and we're always working towards that effort.
Yep.
So.
And I like that you say we, because it's mainly based on feedback, honestly, and experiences with other people. So, all right, so that's cool. And then what else? So, and then after that, you went through the master class. Then you got into our online community, SuperHumans United, right? And that's when you went through the FABO. That's when we were talking about the animal-based thing. We call ours flexible animal-based omnivore, which is really just a progression that goes from our omnivorous way of eating to slowly go to a 100% animal-based for a week or two, and then to start bringing plant stuff back in to see which things you feel best on. So what was your experience like with that? Like, that's kind of where we've landed now, but.
Yeah, my experience with that was at the end of it, I was like sharp. I mean, I was just, I felt good. I slept good. I woke up amped up, ready to go, and that was, that was a different kind of energy. Different kind of energy. And it,
now, is that kind of where you're at now, or have you just backtracked that just a little bit? Do you feel not as at that level, or is it just, are you just used to it, or?
Maybe I'm used to it, right? I think
so too.
I think that's probably, there's definitely, we adapt to that level of feeling, and I do think I feel like that often now. I'm just used to it, and it's not like a new feeling to me, but yeah, I back down in the sense that I have carbs, at night now, and that's, nice to be able to do with people, because, you still like to have dinner with people, and I feel like I probably perform a little better with just a little bit of carbs from like a fitness, when I do my fitness stuff. So so that's an aspect of it, and it's just a nice base level, right? Like it's just a nice, I perform well, I sleep well, I think well, and all those things kind of, I think so it's definitely an interesting exercise. And I do it again, and I will do it again.
Yeah, we'll do it this year. We're going to do a group progression for sure. But it's interesting on the, because I think about this a lot too, that you hit these levels, you make a change and then you feel different from it, right? Hopefully you feel better from it. So, and then that almost becomes the norm. And it's hard to detect whether it's the norm or whether you've kind of slid back a little bit. But I was thinking about it. I was actually thinking about it this week. I think it is the norm. I mean, at least for me, it's like, I hit this level and I'm like, wow, this is even better than before. And I notice it because I think, for me, and tell me what you think, like my personality is way more animated, way more just, I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, I guess animated and just kind of upbeat, and I've always been that way, but it's more, and I'm consistently that way. I'm consistently never stressed out about anything, like rarely. Like, like I got a 10 a.m. talk today. I got a talk tomorrow that I'm not completely finished and ready for yet. I got a client this afternoon that's going to take me all the way up to Anthem, talk about like, the whole, pulling an all-nighter. I'd never do that. Like, I'm just like, it'll work itself out, and it always does. It's like, so it's like, I rarely ever get. That's another way that I notice if things are improving, is my mood, my animation, and then my things that derail me. I just don't get derailed that much anymore.
Yeah, your ability to process things. Yeah, no doubt. That's interesting, because that's one thing I do value about myself, and I think it's only gotten like much better, is my ability to adapt and react. Like, when I was at the power plant, in the power plant world, if they called me and I needed to be at a power plant in Reno, I could be there that night, right? And it was no sweat. Like, I had no issues with that. Now it's like much more you know, the clients I visit, you know, you have to be able to adapt and react and have one client, have one talk with one client about a completely different subject. And so that's a great way to measure it, because I wasn't able to do that. So I think my new normal is this, you know, higher level of performance, for sure.
Yep. Anything else we want to say about the experience, about, you know?
How about, so tie it in. So we did the Fabo progression, but we also do the fasting progression. I know that's not necessarily, you know, it's not like a requirement, but one thing that I noticed that was super beneficial was, there's a word that you use, and it was the first time I experienced it, but autophagy, is that right? Where you basically, your body becomes more efficient because it is placed in a position, if I'm misspeaking, please correct me, but it seems like it's kind of, your body, if it gets forced to become more efficient because you're placed in this position, you put it in this position where it has to do more with what it has, right? And going, kind of tying back into that new baseline of that higher level of performance, I think progressions like Fabo, like fasting, get you there to this level of like, this is my new higher baseline now, my new normal, right? And the new normal we keep talking about lately is COVID, and so like the new normal is like this crappier one. But I think in my world, and because of what we do, you know, my new normal is.
Yeah, but what was the question around the fasting autophagy thing? Or what was the
tie-in was the new baseline of improved performance.
Okay, yeah.
So
and
just
a new way
another,
of doing things.
just another example of that, as another way of kind of getting, you know, of getting that improved performance. And
well, it's emphasizing space. You know, that's what fasting really is about. You know, and that's one of the places that we've kind of not changed our stance, but we've relaxed because we went through. I don't think you were a part of it yet, but we went through our couple of years of like just being intense fasters. You know, like every month I did a 3 to 5 day fast. You know, we were just like, how far can we push it? Monday. You know, like it was just, we went through just like we went through our keto phase, we went through our big fasting phase. And now what we've done is we've settled on, well, first of all, and the benefits of what you're talking about with autophagy, you can just really think it's in, you know, if I don't have these nutrients and things coming in, then I'm going to get really efficient with what I have. And I'm going to go through my body and start to use damaged proteins and things for nutrients and energy. So it's like a self-cleaning process, you know? So does that make sense? You know, like you're going through and instead of like, I'm not getting protein coming in, I'm going to go find protein that's kind of pointless or worthless or damaged or something in my system now. So that's kind of how the repair process works, you know? And then same thing, excess glucose, you know, like insulin sensitivity improves. But I feel like where we're at right now, we get those benefits without the intense fasting. And I'm not saying that it's not beneficial to do like a 3 to 5 day fast here and there, you know, maybe once a quarter or something like that, but it's definitely not a huge emphasis because, and if I hear you right, like a big part of what works for us is, you know, we've kind of settled on nutrient density, prioritizing nutrients, which kind of automatically dictates the way a plate looks in a way, you know, and then also prioritizing space, you know, so 1 or 2 meals a day for most of us, and I think that in and of itself gives us the benefits we're looking for from that, you know. The cleaning, the clarity, the proper energy creation. So if we tied everything together that we've learned as we've gone through this process, like you said, we start with a baseline. We learn how to choose appropriate foods and find better swaps made with good ingredients. Then we transition into being more real foodish. Then we experiment with low carb, and we experiment with eliminating stuff. And then we experiment with the animal-based, and then fasting. You know, that's like, and then that's kind of where most of us are at as veterans. You know, we're real foodies. We prioritize nutrients. We embrace space. And then, of course, we got the other lifestyle factors. What do you think?
Yeah, I love that summary. Yeah. That's such a good way of boiling it down. Yeah, that really covers it. And yeah, so it's interesting because there's obvious benefits to fasting, but yeah, if you can get it within your day as part of this, you know, it's the first principles thing. You're going down to, you know, boiling it down to the simplest constituents, and then if you can do that, then you can find that, yeah, you don't need the 5-day fast every month.
That's right.
You got it. You figured out the equation, right?
You get the best of all worlds.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's most important? How do I get that with the least
pain possible, or something like that.
Yeah.
How do I make this the most efficient that it can?
Yeah.
Get all the benefits that I want without being too extreme. So I feel like that's where most of us have settled, and naturally too. Like I feel like you've naturally kind of settled into this groove. We've set like a lot of the veterans, like we're all kind of at that same spot, and it's nice, and like I think there's an emphasis on like ease and grace and not being stressed out about it and neurotic and forcing things. Whereas, we went through our years of gotta
Forcing
2 meals a
things,
day
yeah.
or 1 meal a day or, this much fast, and now it's just let it happen. And when you let it happen, it does. When you, again, prioritize animal food, stuff like that, it just settles into natural space. I mean, everything we're talking about, it's actually fascinating.
Yeah, you're so right. And it's just, it's interesting because, I think another thing I realized from that, and I think it ties in, is that better's better, right? Like I think that's one of the things that you make an important point, and it's not necessarily obvious what that means, or it hadn't been until much more recently. So that you don't have to, wherever you're trying to go, you don't have to get there quick. I mean, better is better. If you're doing, if you falling in line with the ease and grace, if you find a way that works and you get into a groove and you get a little better each day, that's what's really going to build momentum and make your life better. How you perform, how you approach your world and day, all better. So.
I think that's a perfect segue into like finishing this thing up, and that would be, I was just going to ask you, like, what if let's say you're going to share this with your mom or some friends or family members, right?
Yeah.
Like, what are some things that were transition into some takeaways for someone who's relatively new or looking at something like this, right? It's like, we're looking to build. We got the rest of our life to experiment with this, right? So once you get into this, there's not necessarily any kind of a rush. It's like you're looking to make small, incremental improvements that will build on themselves over time. The benefits will accumulate, So even if you don't do something dramatic in the beginning, like if it's something better than what you're doing before and you feel a little bit better, that will add, and then you can do something on top of that. It's kind of what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Like get into it. You can go at your own pace, something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you just kind of think about it simply, and you realize that, hey, this is probably, you can experiment, like not knowing, not going into it based on like word of mouth, it's probably a pretty easy premise to accept that real food is going to be good for you, that nutrient dense food is going to be good for you, and then you can start, doing your own little experiments and trying things out, and I think you'll start verifying that, and then you can start building on that. But yeah, I mean that's exactly right.
Starting with small. Have you read Atomic Habits?
Yes.
Yeah. So starting small, just showing up, changing one thing. That's another thing we've kind of changed. In the beginning, it was like, this is the challenge. This is the 2 weeks. This is what you got to do. And now it's like,
do it all. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the recommendation, but you can choose to do it the way you want, or do it for as many days as you want out of a week or something like that. There's something else I was thinking there too with the. Well, and then that's another reason that I feel like what I want to do, or what us as leaders, I don't know what you call us, veterans and leaders. What I want for us, especially to instill in others, would be this constant experimentation, right? So to get to where we are, you start with the basics, you slowly build, but then you also have to always not be content with just that. If you want to optimize, you want to tinker a little bit more, right? Then you try this, then you do a little bit of low carb, then you do a little bit of elimination, then you do a little bit of fasting, then you learn the animal progress, and at some point, all that, you start to gain this. It's like this wisdom, this intuition.
Yeah,
Something
absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's what you do. And I can't remember. Was it Atomic Habits that he goes like? Was it the 1% better? Is that the
Probably. He gives the analogy of the ice cube and all that.
The ice cube. There was a bike one too, and it was like guys in
oh yeah, where they're trying to shave off every little thing.
Not Le Mans. What's the race in the France race?
Tour de France.
Tour de France. Yeah. Where the guys were, and they were just looking at it like, hey, we're gonna get, you guys know how to bike, right? We're gonna make you 1% more efficient. We're gonna cut down on air drag 1% today. The next day they're gonna get you 1% better pedaling efficiency.
Yeah, they
right?
focus on one thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so eventually that 1% becomes, you know, just an enormous advantage.
Yeah.
And
Well, it turns into like 20%.
Yeah.
Because you're like adding percentages all the time.
Yeah.
That's
every
a great
day.
way to look at it. You know, you master the art of finding good replacements. At a minimum, I'm just going to eat better things made with better ingredients, right?
Yeah.
And then at some point you add to that. But that's a big win.
Yep.
Then you have another, you know.
Yep. And you realize how far you can push it, and then you realize what you can like still have. Like, you know, I like my ice cream, so you know I can do really
Wait
well.
till you try my ice cream.
I can't wait.
Yeah. Oh, I should have brought some to them out. But yeah, you can justify, rationalize indulgences too, right? You know, so I mean, it's no secret I like to have a drink here and there, you know, and but I feel totally fine with that because I am seeing the results that I want. If I started to not see results or started going the opposite direction, I know exactly where my problem is. You know, it would be maybe that, or maybe I'm starting to get too many carbs or whatever, you know. So that's another thing that this facilitates is this awareness of, like, I know it works, right? And then within that, I have the things that I'm willing to concede on or be flexible with, or, you know, I have clients that are like, you know, hey, I'm going to have a freaking Italian day once a week. You know, me and my family are doing spaghetti. Okay, totally cool.
Yeah.
And if we don't see the results that we're looking for, we know, okay, well, these are the areas that I need to tighten up, you know, something like that. So it gives you that awareness, I think.
Yeah. And then I think what happens is, like, because I've done that, is you find that, you know, you're like, dang, next day you're like, that was good, but man, I don't feel that great.
Yeah.
You know, you start to pick up on, like, you know, you start to pay attention to how you feel, and so it's an interesting thing. So maybe at some point you naturally, you know, then you'll naturally gravitate to like once every 2 weeks, and then you find your balance, right?
That's right. That's right. And if you're constantly envisioning what you want, you know, this helps me. It's like I'm like, what do I want, man? You know, I'm like, I want to look this way. I want to feel this way. I want to, you know, perform a certain way with a talk or something like that. And it's like, okay, so to facilitate that, I have to be this way. I have to do these things, you know. So that vision also helps. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, I try to think about, like, how best to explain how I feel to people who haven't got the message, or like haven't been convinced yet by me. And I guess the first thing is, you know, I think how it's very important to have like a purpose in life, right? Like, I think as humans we're meant to carry a load. And that purpose, you know, if it's something you do at work, if it's something you know, some change in the world, you know, there's some aspect of being the change you seek, right? Or maybe you have responsibility, you know, you want to be the best son or spouse or a parent, right? To whoever it is. I think it's so important to have that purpose, and so I think the best way that I've thought of to make a, you know, convincing argument about, like, why you would make a change and do, like, a, you know, like pursue an SHT, like real food, space, all those things, way of life, is, you know, like, think about how you want to perform your, you know, how do you want to do what you do? How do you want to fulfill your purpose? And so I think that's it. You gotta be like, hey, I owe a debt of gratitude and purpose. You know, I have a role to fill for my mom. I have a role to fill for, you know, people in my life that I love, my friends, my family, my fiance, and my dog. And how am I gonna do that? How am I gonna do that, like, well? And I think it's with SHT.
Yeah. So it's because the way you segued into that was trying to explain to people, you know, right? Like, try to explain to them what this is we're experiencing, right? I think that's so beautiful, really. The purpose thing is hard for a lot of people because they're like, well, how do I find my purpose? And I think you just alluded to, well, your purpose can be a lot of different things. It's like, what's important to you right now? I don't know, if it's your kids, if it's your career, if it's, you know, maybe that evolves and changes. And of course, we have ways to experiment with figuring that out. But if you just ask yourself, like, what's important to me? Okay. And then how do I be my best version of myself for that thing that's important to me.
Yeah. How
It's
do you
through-
show up for them?
It's through health. Like
Yeah.
it's through health. Health is a big piece of it, you know, a
Yep.
huge, huge piece of it. So, yeah, I think that's great.
It's weird to think, but yeah, it's like almost like you have to be a little selfish in order to be selfless, and so you have to take care of yourself to take care of others.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
And it makes you naturally more selfless, I think.
Yeah.
You know, even though you're having to be selfish with some things, with your commitment to this stuff and your time in it and all that, but it makes you better.
Yeah.
Then it makes you want to be more selfless, you know, I think. So well, I think that's a great way to kind of cap it off. Anything else? Yeah, that was really awesome. I just really enjoyed that discussion with you, man. Good dude.
Likewise. No, thank you. I don't have. I think that's it. I think that's a good. I agree. It's a good way to cap it off. And
You exude vibrancy, and you look great. Your hair's great.
thank you.
I still remember like when I first met you, because you didn't have this, you know, look about you. And then I saw you after a long time at the one of the Vegas food co-op pickups, and I was like, dude, you look like Matthew McConaughey.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I gotta get the. All right. Down. But you know, I'll work on that.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, hopefully we'll hear more from you. You know, we're gonna do hopefully some other episodes. I had a really good talk with my cohort out in California. I was thinking we could do like a 3-way on some topics. You know, what we did the other day is we just took a topic that came up and I just opened it up and we just started talking about it. It was really great. So,
Nice.
yeah, might be a cool little thing. So,
I'd be 100% game. Yeah, let's do it.
yeah, and you wouldn't have to drive up here. We could do it through Zoom or something like that. So,
Perfect. Yeah, that'll be important as I potentially am in Reno. So.
yeah. All right, best of luck to everything, you and Katie. All right, man.
All right.
Thanks for being a part of this.
Thank you.
All
Thank you
right.
for being here and for giving what you give.
Later.